the film is much about perspectives, you know, and how each perspective kind of shapes reality or memories in a particular way. So to me, it was important to dig into Tara's memories, you know, her way of seeing things. Besides going and actually meeting the guy and finding out what other version was there of the same event, to me it was important to try to understand what Tara went through and who this man was in her experience, you know. There is something unique about being with someone that is doing the project of their lives, and it's always a project of your life because you've been living the story longer than anyone, you know. So it becomes very personal, and I to me I love to respond to one person, you know. I don't believe in cinema that is run by studios or producers, or like I like when a film is run by whoever is telling you the story, you know. Then this person can have many allies around, but there's one voice to follow, you know, and in this case, that's what has happened so far, you know. We are doing the Tara's film, and we all agree on that, you know, and it makes your life easier, I guess.
So I think what's been really interesting about working with Tara, I've never worked with a writer-director before, so obviously they're so invested in the story, and on top of that, this is Tara's real story. So I felt a huge pressure to do it justice and to get it right for her. She's incredibly focused and incredibly, obviously, in tune with this subject matter because it's based upon her. But she was very gracious in saying that you're not doing an impersonation of me and that Adrienne is yours now, and guiding me through that. You know, I've never worked on a set with women like this. I've never been around women. Tara is the second female director I've ever worked with, and the first female director's film got taken away from her and never released. And so, as women in film, I think it's new for all of us to be surrounded by so many of our wonderful superior gender. And I wish it wasn't such a novelty. I remember on the first day being just so blown away, like I was in some kind of Disneyland, and then I just wish that that wasn't so shocking, and that I'm almost reticent to talk about how magical and wonderful and exciting it was because it should just be normal. And but I'm grateful for the experience, for sure.
It's really easy to say, this is going to be too hard, let's rewrite it. You know, and I think one of the greatest things about this collaboration amongst us is that we all care deeply about the material. I think the only reason to make low-budget independent movies is because you believe that they have something to say and that they're entertaining and that they can reach people and that they're original and they're fresh, and the script is all of those things. But when it gets hard, and it frequently gets hard on these movies, you know, the best thing about partners, when you're all in it, is you continue to push each other and you continue to hold each other accountable and be like, yes, we're gonna get the dolphins today, or you know what, I'm gonna go make LACMA like happen. I'm gonna make sure that I get LACMA for this budget. And I think it's just like constantly when we were on set together and during pre-production, we were all share an office, and it really does take a village of passionate people that are determined to make the director's vision that she's communicated so clearly come true. And I think that was one of the best things about this, was that we really were like a team that was unrelenting in ensuring that the movie that was on the page is the movie that ends up on the screen.
Yeah. There were about 9 out of 10 women, a lot of women on the set. Yeah, I mean, our DP was a woman, our production designer was a woman, our first AD was a woman. Yeah.
Our editor, one of our editors was a woman.
Yeah, we made a big effort.
And actually, it wasn't much of an effort. It was really what came naturally to the project.
Yeah.
And I think that's people always say, well, it's really hard to find the qualified women and to get the women because, you know, the men are more qualified and there's more of them. And we literally went for, you know, who was right for the project. We certainly sought out more women, but there were plenty to be found.
Yeah. And our DP had a full all female camera crew. First AC, second AC, DIT.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing.
Wander Darkly is a film that, you know, is an emotional film that is, you know, that has a couple that gets into a car accident and are looking for answers, but at the same time, it has a positive message, because I want the audience, after they see this film, to believe in love, to know love is love. And I feel that also just whoever out there is in need of sort of a closure or is in need of emotional bonding or closure, you know, this film is for them.
So about 6 years ago, my husband and I were in a really bad car accident, and thank goodness we're both fine. But in the aftermath of that event, the first thing that happened was that I blacked out after the impact. And when I came to, I couldn't see. And so I was sort of in this like disembodied state, shouting, I can't see, I can't see. And when my husband didn't respond to me, my immediate reaction was, what is wrong with him? Why isn't he answering me? Like, am I alive? Am I dead? And what's happening? And then at some point he sort of choked out, I can't breathe. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, we're screwed. And there was something sort of in that moment for me where it was possible that there was something really wrong with me, that I was very like severely injured in that moment, but the idea that there was something wrong with him was impossible. There was like, I could survive something that would happen to me, but I could not survive if something were to happen to him. So there is that piece of it. And then several days later, after, you know, in my recovery, because I was heavily concussed after the accident, I was sort of laying on the couch, and my daughter, who was 6 months old at the time, was like bouncing in her little bouncer, and I was calling to her and couldn't get off the couch, and she was ignoring me, as a 6-month-old is wont to do. And I just had this bizarre feeling of, oh my God, I died. I died in that accident. I'm just seeing what comes after, and my mom will raise our kids, and we'll never move into the house we bought. And so even further after that, once I was sort of recovered from all of that, we were at Thanksgiving that year, and everybody was fighting about something stupid, the turkey, I don't know what, but I was just so grateful and so I had so much perspective on the value of our delicate little lives, and just was so desperately happy and really wanted to share that. And that was sort of the beginning of Wander Darkly. It was like all these moments and wanting to share what came out of that. I think these characters took on a life of their own, and their love took on a life of its own. Especially, I think, because Sienna and Diego had a relationship, a friendship that goes back years. They had such a comfort and such a warmth together that it really, it's theirs. You know what I mean? As much as it is my husband's and mine, Diego and Sienna made Adrienne and Matteo their own. So when casting Diego, I mean, my husband is not Latino. He's half Armenian. But it was important to me that we not cast a white male in that role, mostly because we live in Los Angeles, and that's not the world that I experience every day. I live in a very diverse neighborhood. We have diverse friends, and I just thought there was something very important about giving that role to a person of color. And I also, funny enough, Diego was in my initial lookbook. Like, he's like half the page. So even sort of subconsciously, I think I always wanted Diego. And he also, by the way, has this this very rare combination of boyish charm and hyper intelligence that my husband also has, which is, you know, it's like all these things you don't realize until you know them both, and then you're like, oh, that's why I was drawn to you to play this role. We had this little like pool party with the cast and, you know, some of our families and everything before we started shooting, and my husband showed up late, but he was wearing the exact same outfit that Diego was wearing. Like, their bathing suits matched, their shirts matched. It was like really, and I was like, I have to go. I don't know how to like do this. I was very awkward about the whole thing, truthfully. But yeah, no, I think he's a profoundly intelligent person. I think he's a deeply intuitive actor. He was very much connected to this story, I think, for his own life. You know, there were things in the backstory that I sent him that he was like, oh my God, this is my son's life. You know, his, yeah, and I don't want to say too many personal things like about Diego's life necessarily, but I think that, you know, he connected to this story in particular on a very deep level because of his own personal background.